Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I am Christina and this is Mommy on Life, and I am breaking records on how many times I have filmed this over and over and over again. Hi and welcome to my channel. I am Christina and I'm going to be talking today just specifically about what we did to get started in homeschooling. So in this video I am only going to be talking about the things that I did to get started with homeschooling. I'm not going to talk about state requirements because it's going to vary from state to state. I recommend that if you're confused on what your state requires that you actually call the school board for your district and talk to them. Also look and see if there's a homeschooling advisory team in your area. You can check Facebook, you can check online. We actually in our state have a group called HEAV and you can sign up with them. There's a small fee associated with this, but you get to attend certain meetings and they also have lawyers for if anything were to come about. And because of you paying the fee, you have access to those lawyers. I always roll my eyes at that point because it's really kind of become a null thing. Homeschooling is pretty much accepted now everywhere, and it is an option that is definitely growing in popularity and is always a good option as long as your family can meet certain requirements. You're good to go. So, started. We essentially looked for, the first thing was a support group, a community of people that we could ask questions to. And I looked online and in our area and on our post because we were stationed at a post at that time. And I also talked to people at our church. And we essentially found a bunch of resources. I was really surprised at how many people actually homeschooled and how differently everybody homeschooled. So the first thing that I want you guys to take away is nobody homeschools the same, and there is no right way or wrong way to choose a curriculum for your child. I will say that there is a really good option for choosing curriculum, and that is to attend a homeschooling convention. There should be one in every state. I haven't heard of a state that doesn't have one yet. But for us, we waited until the second year to go to the homeschooling convention, and I really wish we would have gone the first year. Yes, it costs money. Yes, it's quite expensive, but it was very worth it. They had a day camp for our older child. Our youngest came with us. And we were able to learn so much during that time. It was an entire weekend and they had tons of workshops. Not all of them were related to homeschooling. Some were related to kind of like household management or even something as simple as timekeeping and record keeping. And then they had everything across the board from preschooling all the way to high school years. They even did a graduation ceremony. But the great thing about the convention for curriculum choosing is the fact that they had a used curriculum sale, so you could go and buy curriculum at a very discounted price. And they also had a huge vendor lot. The entire room was filled with every single homeschooling curriculum person that sells it ever. And you got to walk around. It took us all 3 days to walk around and talk to every person, to all the different curriculum people, to kind of figure out what the ifs, ands, and buts were and what would work best. There's a lot of programs that are specifically online, and then there's a lot of programs that you do specifically out of a workbook. Not everything is right for every child. For ours, he really likes online things and a mix of things that he does by himself and things that I instruct him on. The huge benefit to going to each specific vendor and seeing and touching and feeling the curriculum and looking at it and allowing your child to look at it is you really get a feel for what the curriculum expects out of your time, your child's time, and if it's really at their level. Just because it says it's for third graders doesn't mean that it's going to be right for your child, or that your child's going to respond well to the actual instructions that it's asking them to do. Our child needed very specific instructions because he is very literal, and if there weren't specific instructions, he would get frustrated. He wanted to do everything himself, and he's a perfectionist, so he really needed something that was self-guided and well-worded and wasn't vague in the instructions. Even if it was something as simple as color in this green, he really needed it to say, color this in green with a crayon. Or he was really confused. And that took away time from him learning. So each curriculum is going to be different for every child, and I don't think that there is a wrong curriculum. A lot of parents are actually going to unschooling, and unschooling is where you don't really use a curriculum set at all. You essentially go off your child's interests, and we did do that a lot in science. We did not use a set curriculum for science. We actually chose to get a science museum membership instead, because they have a lot of really good resources, and it was, besides the membership fee, it was free for us to go. So for us, that worked out a lot better. He was able to explore things, and as his interests changed, we weren't completely bound to a curriculum set that no longer fit what he liked. For reading and comprehension, we only did like chapter book reading and then some simple activities with him based off the books he was reading. He has a higher than average reading level, so that's what we chose to do. The first year we chose to do an actual textbook reading curriculum, and it did not work well for him. And don't feel defeated if your curriculum isn't working. It is always okay to change curriculum, and it is always okay to decide that you're just going to hold off for a while and rethink what your choice is. For scheduling, so I will say that the biggest thing I learned at the workshop, other than like the actual feel of curriculum, was that a lot of people felt like they were constantly falling off the wagon. Essentially, you make a schedule for yourself, and for us, our school started at 9 and it was over at 11. And it was only Monday through Thursday. And on Thursday, he went to Bible study with me, so instead of that 9 to 11 time frame of doing work, he was actually doing more like fun kitschy stuff like cursive writing and worksheets than actual curriculum time stuff. And that's just because he's a fast learner and he gets through things pretty quickly. But for a lot of people, they would have a schedule where they were up from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock doing one subject, and then from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock doing another. It just depended on what their family time was and what their outside obligations were. And obviously if you're in a co-op, that's going to change too. I will say that there were a few weeks where we did not do homeschooling at all. We were either doing family vacations, or we were doing other activities, or home economics, which is essentially teaching your children how to do a new house cleaning chore, or teaching them how to cook, or teaching them how to go shopping, which were all really crucial things for our kids to learn, and I think that's lacking in most school systems. But our child really enjoyed cooking, so we did a lot of that with him. The cooking and the science were his favorite. We ended up going with an online math program. This is the exhaustion. So the online math program that we ended up using was called Dreambox. We really love the program, and we intend on using it even though he's going back into public school and we'll be going to private school. They have a family rate, and then they have a single child rate, so it doesn't matter how many kids you have. The family rate covers all of them. What's really great about the program is they are constantly like re-upping what your child is doing. If your child's struggling with something, they get more activities that relate to that struggle, and if they are succeeding in something, they stop trying to make your child do it over and over again, and they add new things. So it was really great for him, and it was really great for us because we were able to just log on real quick and look at the parent dashboard and see exactly where he was and what he was doing and how long he was spending on it a day. He could easily sit there for 2 hours and go through 10 to 15 lessons. And it wasn't, you know, just like him deciding that that's what he wanted to do. It was so much fun for him that he just continually wanted to do it. It also rewards the kids with every couple lessons. It'll pop up a game. So Dreambox for us was a real lifesaver for math, because the previous year the math program we chose was awful for him. It was too slow. It kind of integrated like one new thing every couple lessons. So for 3 or 4 days, it was teaching him the same thing, but he was still doing 80% of the work that he's already figured out how to do, which wasn't fun for him, and it was very stressful, and he did not look forward to doing it. And that's another thing too. You want your child to be really inspired by what they're doing, so finding the right curriculum for them is very difficult. The one good thing I will say is from kindergarten to 3rd grade, it's really not a big deal. If they're struggling a lot, they can catch up pretty well in 4th grade. Once they're in 4th grade and they start to turn into the junior high type learning styles, it's kind of important for them to be structured. So for the first couple years, you can kind of play around with curriculum and see what works for your child, but then you really kind of have to make decisions on what's going to be best for your child and stick with them. Other words, it can be really confusing and hard to keep track of what they've done and what they haven't done. So I guess that's pretty much all I have to say about what we did to get started with homeschooling. It really isn't as daunting as you think it is. I think finding a good support system is worth it.